This incident comes just one day after two other mass shootings. In Baltimore, where a community block party descended into chaos as gunfire erupted, killing two and injuring more than 24 others. And in Wichita, Kansas, 9 people shot and wounded at a nightclub. Another community in America reeling from a mass shooting after a gunman opened fire in Philadelphia, shooting 7 people, killing 5, and injuring 2 children.
All right, all units use caution. We got somebody with a long gun.
Police say the suspect was armed with an AR-15 style rifle and a handgun, carrying a police scanner and wearing a bulletproof vest. The suspect still firing as police were at the scene.
It has been a tragic start to this 4th of July holiday. A 5th person has now been found dead connecting to what was a mass shooting in Kansas. In all, 7 people were shot, and the youngest victim in this case just 2 years old. This morning, police say the suspected shooter is in custody, and they say he was heavily armed and wearing a bulletproof vest.
This male was wearing a bulletproof vest with multiple magazines in the vest. He also had a scanner and an AR-style rifle and a handgun underneath his body. He was taken into custody without further incident.
The question I have is, where does a person like this get an AR-15? Where does a person like this get a semi-automatic handgun? Where does a person like this buy Kevlar vest? This country needs to re-examine its conscience when it comes to Congress or the state legislature and try to figure out how we get these guns out of these people's hands. I understand, I don't know how many more guns he had. The parent had a stockpile of guns in his house in addition, and we should try to figure out where he got those weapons, and that gun dealer or that gun show should be sued till they're out of business. And it's just ridiculous.
And police believe the shooter is 40 years old. There's a second person that was also taken into custody, but it's unclear their connection to the shooter. Now, a total of 3 guns were recovered. And once again, just to recap, 5 men were shot and killed. 2 children were also shot, and the youngest only 2 years old. Now, the children are expected to be okay, but police are still trying to answer the biggest question this morning as to why this happened. 5 people were killed. We just heard from a father who identified his son.
A few hours later, the crime scene officer was approached by a male who said he just returned home to check on his son inside of a private residence in the 1600 block of South 56th. And when a family member went inside, he found the son laying on the living room floor, unresponsive.
And police say they believe this would have been the 7th victim and 5th person shot and killed. Police say the deceased were all men between the ages of 20 to 59 years old. There were also 2 children who survived the shooting. They are 13 and 2 years old. Police say the shooting happened around 8:30 Monday evening near 56th Street and Chester Avenue. Officers heard gunshots at 56th Street and King Sussing Avenue, where they also found shell casings. Officers began pursuing the suspect on Kessing Avenue as he was firing shots. He was actively shooting a firearm at the time our officers were pursuing. This male was, as they were scooping up the victims and preparing them for transport to the hospital, they also heard multiple gunshots up the street.
Officers chasing down the suspect, finally cornering him in an alley.
He was taken into custody without further incident.
Investigators say they currently do not have a motive in the shootings and do not know if the suspect is connected to any of the victims. Police also taking a second person into custody.
We have another person that we believe acquired a gun somehow, don't know how, and picked up the gun and returned fire in the direction of the shooter that we have in custody.
Back in Philadelphia, the mayor saying he's horrified by the shootings, writing, "My heart is with the loved ones and families of everyone involved, and I send my prayers to the victims."
Yeah, and police say this crime scene is massive. Authorities will be back out there this morning canvassing. Police have yet to release the names of those 2 suspects that were apprehended. And again, still no word on a motive this morning. Craig?
George Solis Force there in Philadelphia. George,
this male was wearing a bulletproof vest with multiple magazines in the vest. He also had a scanner and an AR-style rifle and a handgun underneath his body. He was taken into custody without further incident. And police believe the shooter is 40 years old. There's a second person that was also taken into custody, but it's unclear their connection to the shooter. Now, a total of 3 guns were recovered. And once again, just to recap, 5 men were shot and killed. 2 children were also shot, and the youngest only 2 years old. Now, the children are expected to be okay.